You should be fed, clothed, and kept by a state institution for the rest of your life. You should be fed, clothed, and kept by a state institution for the rest of your life. You should be fed, clothed, and kept by a state institution for the rest of your life.
In the chapel of the State Correctional Institution at Chester, Pennsylvania, 8 men serving life sentences performed an original theater witness piece about their lives. These are their true stories, performed for families, friends, judges, legislators, victims, and fellow inmates.
Another night, while I'm lying here alone, in my bed so cold, not as warm as yesterday.
Lions.
16 and a half years.
Carrera.
15 and a half years.
Guglielmi.
6,023 days, and still counting. 16 and a half years.
Attention all areas, attention all areas. We got 2,100 counts commencing, 2,100 counts commencing.
Boyd.
I've been in prison since I was 17 years old. It was 26 years ago. I'm not the same man at age 44 than I was at age 17.
Faust.
When I first came to the penitentiary, they called me Young Buck. Now they call me Old Head. My number is older than half of the young guys here in the penitentiary. 23 years.
Joyner.
The 70s, the 80s, the 90s. I missed all of them. 31 years.
I thought about my children today and how they had to grow up without a father. Their special days, birthdays, little league games, proms, and first dates. And my mother and my father. How much I wanted to tell my mother I loved her before she passed away. But now my children are all grown up. Do they know me? And do I know them? And how will it end?
Smith.
I have 10,220 days in prison. I was 19 when I came. I'm 47 now.
Jones.
They tried to sentence me to death, but I was too young. So they waited until I turned 19 years old, the whole trial. 6.5 years on death row, 21 years in total.
How did it slip away from me? If we can just change back the hands of time and do things differently than we did yesterday, it's amazing how a few minutes can change a life, how a few moments can change so many people's lives. The older you get, the more wise you become. You see your mistakes. How do I ask for forgiveness when because of me life was robbed? How do I make amends? When I think about the lives I affected, not just the victim's life, it's hard. It's very hard. Just like I want to live, they wanted to live. But I cannot change back the hands of time.
Attention all areas, attention all areas. We have a recount, we have a recount. Lights on, 2 officers, stand by your door. How did it slip away?
How did it slip away now?
How did it slip away?
How did it slip away now?
How did it slip away?
And our minds have started spinning.
How did it slip away?
And our heart has started winning.
How did it slip away?
Oh, we leave it up to you, Lord.
How did it slip away?
Just make it up to you, Lord.
How did it slip away from me?
One very ordinary moment in time. 2 men on the bus. One bends down to fix his boot, while the other sits near him with the radio. No one means anything special to happen, and then there's a collision of circumstances. 2 people are shot, and 1 dies. The other spends the rest of his life behind bars. Less than 1 minute in time has passed, and all has forever changed. I was 26, successful. I've been in the Navy, gone to Italy and France. I graduated high school, worked in retail. I was born poor in the ghetto, but at the time when they had family unity. There were men in the neighborhoods. Houses had newspapers and milk on the front steps. That's because people trusted each other. I lived in a matriarchy with my mother, who was 16 when she had me, and my grandmother, who was a strong, strong woman. She was my heart. We ate a full-course meal together every evening at 6 p.m., and we never wanted for food, clothing, or shelter. We were poor in money, but rich in love. And my mother and I were the best of friends. Up until that last month, I was working hard, and I was trying to make it in the world, a world that was moving much too fast for me. Then everything started to fall apart. I had no job, I lost my job. I had no prospects of finding one. I had no money, and I had to move back in with my grandmother. Hopelessness and depression started to set in. I started using drugs and alcohol, which caused me to make some bad choices. The day it happened, I was wearing my jeans, cowboy boots, and flight jacket. I carried a .32 pistol in my pocket that I never planned to use. An ordinary day, nothing special. The victim probably woke up, had breakfast, and said goodbye to his family, expecting to be home later that day. Maybe he got up before his wife that morning. Maybe they made love. Maybe he shaved, looked at television. What was he planning to do that evening? What was his frame of mind when he left the house? Did he know that it would be the end? On the bus, I sat on the seat. The leg of my jean got stuck in my boot and I bent down to fix it. The gun fell out the slit of my pocket and hit the floor. The victim saw it and panicked. I panicked and hit him. His cousin hit me with a radio. I came up and I fired. 2 people were shot and 1 died. It was like a dream, almost hard to describe. You hear shots, bang, bang. You know you pulled the trigger, but you can't believe it happened. You're in deep shock. I flee home. It's like the World Trade Center, a movie. People flying on September 11th. They kissed their loved ones goodbye. Did they know it would be the last time? What were these people thinking? Did they know it would be the end? In the courtroom, I seen the victim's mother and grandmother. I seen my mother. It was horrendous how many lives were affected. I think about that man every day, wishing that I can somehow change back the hands of time. At SCI Dallas, it was hard for me to accept what had happened. I used to watch the men play basketball. I watched them all on the court, and I would mentally eliminate one to see what it meant to have a life taken away. And I think to myself, you took away a father, a son, a husband. You destroyed a family. You are a statistic. And you had everything going for yourself, and here you are. I think about writing the victim's family, but what do I possibly say to them? That I'm sorry? That because of me, a life was robbed? They don't want to hear that. I go over it in my mind. But if I was home and received a letter from someone who killed someone in my family, I don't know how I would react. I don't know how they would react. I'd like to get out of jail one day, the same for all of us here. I'd like to go back in the community and somehow give back. I give lectures, I counsel kids. But how do I possibly ask? One very ordinary moment in time. 2 men on a bus. One bends down to fix his boot, while the other sits near him with the radio. No one means anything special to happen. And then there's a collision of circumstances. 2 people are shot, and 1 dies. The other spends the rest of his life behind bars. Less than 1 minute of time has passed, and all has forever changed.
Where I grew up in the inner city, you didn't plan on seeing 50. Not living the lifestyle that we lived, did you plan on seeing 50? There was a gap in the young men's lives, jail or the graveyard. And the only reason why I'm alive is that I'm in jail. The choices we saw were, you hung out, you went to jail, you sold drugs, you died. We went to the street to find what we didn't have at home. There we squandered our youth.
You should be fed, clothed, and kept by a state institution for the rest of your life. life. You should be fed, clothed, and kept by a state institution for the rest of your life. You should be fed, clothed, and kept by a state institution for the rest of your life.
In 1969, there were jobs in the city of Chester, but then heroin came to my city, tore it up. We didn't know anything about drug addiction or needles. We didn't know that we was messing up our lives. Out of the 11 men that hung out on the corner, only 3 are left, and we 3 are in jail. The rest are all dead. If I had my life to do all over again, I would do it differently. I liked the school, was in the upper percentile of my class, but in 9th grade, I started hanging around with the wrong crowd. I even had an English teacher who wanted to adopt me. On her side of the town were trees and quiet streets, but I was already a product of my environment. See, when you grow up with weeds and broken bottles and graffiti, this all you know. And if you're in too deep, you won't go over to the other side. You know, my neighborhood had bars in it, bars on the window. I'd see bars in this penitentiary. So a lot of people in my neighborhood is in the penitentiary. My life sentence came as a result of some young men's drinking and committing a homicide robbery. You could do something when you're 25 years old that's negative, that affect your life for the next 25 years. Or you could do something positive. The choices I made brought me here. I wasn't there for my children. 3 of them got locked up. When I saw my son as an adult, I didn't even recognize him. Recently, I had a visit from my son's mother, who said she had hated me for the last 22 and a half years because I had honored a commitment to a group of guys instead of her. She went to drugs herself. When you live the lifestyle that I live, something did get taken care of, and that something was her and my son. Only my daughter done well, graduated from college, pursuing her master's degree, but it was her mother who provided her with an education and hope. For a long time, we didn't even talk, and now we're close. But fatherhood is spending time with your children. How can you say you're a father and you haven't put in any time? We don't want people on the outside to see us like cold-blooded murderers, because we're not. A lot of us has been in the penitentiary for the first time, you know. And I looked in the first row and I seen a grown man crying. And as I looked at him, tears, I felt like crying. My generation is old. We don't want to die in the penitentiary. But in Pennsylvania, life means life. We want to build our credibility back, do good deeds, become honorable men. We want y'all to see us as we are and not like we was. I know we've done a lot of wrong, but we got a lot of good that we can do. And I pray and hope that this is not the end of the story.
You should be fed, clothed, and kept by a state institution for the rest of your life. You should be fed, clothed, and kept by a state institution for the rest of your life. You should be fed, clothed, and kept by a state institution for the rest of your life.
When I was a little boy, oh wow. I still can see that bed right now. It's a real big queen-size bed. I think 20 people could fit on it. I don't know how they got the bed in the apartment, in that little room, but they got the bed in that little room. It's a real big giant bed and a real big quilt. I think my grandmother had made that quilt. You know, it was a real big quilt, so everybody stayed warm. And it was, like I said, it was 5 boys down up one end and 5 girls down the other end. And really, the baby was real small. The baby might end up sleeping on anybody. Then you wake up in the morning, baby might be on the floor. Everybody look for the baby. Where the baby at? The baby ended up on the floor. Somebody. So, you know, it was fun. It was fun.
We were poor back then. And it was at that time I figured I would do something about it. When I turned 11 years old, I used to steal food for my family. I did the same things around the holiday time. I buy clothes. Charlie Brown would help me put it in the cellar. The next morning, I'd leave before the gift opening. This went on for like maybe 2 or 3 years. Then one particular Easter, Mom said, Francis, where all this stuff come from? I didn't want to lie to Mom, so I told the truth. She said, baby, let me tell you something. You don't have to steal. We're not gonna always have what we want. We just gonna have to do what we got. I was embarrassed because Mom caught me. So I ran away from home. 10 blocks away. Yeah, I slept in an old house. After that, I came back and made up with mine. After that, I started hanging out with Charlie Brown, real tough. We started stealing copper, radiators. It was money I'd take and put under the pillow. I was a follower back then, too. I even hooked in school a few days a week. My first arrest came when I was 14 years old. I stole a car. After that, I sort of graduated in crime. I used to go to Center City, run the office buildings, breaking in the house with a guy named Cookie. My mom told me never to hang with. When I turned 15 years old, I was arrested for stealing a gun out of a house. The judge said Job Corps or prison. I chose Job Corps. After Job Corps, I wanted to get my life back together. I wanted to stop stealing. I wanted to be a productive man. So I got myself a nice government job. I even got my father a job too. But I had a problem. And my problem was, I used to take a lot of Valiums and smoke reefer. Mom used to always say, boy, one day you're gonna take them Valiums, it's gonna get you in a world of trouble. You shouldn't listen to Mom. I didn't listen to Mom. I take them pills at night, I sleep it off, I go to work the next morning. This went on for like 6 months. Then one particular morning, I was on my way to work, and I ran into 2 friends.
Need you to help us round this ball, baby.
No, I'm cool, man. I'm cool. I'm trying to straighten.
Sell us out? All you gotta do is hold the gun.
I'm trying to straighten my life out. I'm going to work. Back up, I'm going to work.
What are you gonna do? Sell us out?
Easy money.
I went to work. When I got back home, they asked me the same thing.
What you gonna do?
I'm cool, man. I'm all right. Come on, man.
Hold the guns for us, that's all. Don't sell us out.
Okay. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna hold the guns. That's all I'm gonna do. When we rob the bar, I don't want none of the money. You go your way, I go my way.
All right.
11:30 that night, I took 14 volumes. I fell asleep. Next thing I knew, they were waking me up.
Oh, man, what are you gonna do? Sell us
What's
out?
up? Where we going?
Wake up.
Where we going?
We got that bar.
I forgot that we was gonna rob the bar. I was so high. They gave me a shotgun in this hand and a 45 replica in this hand. And we were walking down the street.
Come on, man, put them guns away.
All
What are you
right.
trying to do? Get us busted?
I was so high, I forgot to put the guns away. The bar was around the corner. We walked in the bar, my 2 co-defendants announced it was a stick-up. They walked in the pool room part of the bar. I walked in behind them. I looked at everybody. Everybody looked at me. They knew everybody. As my co-defendants were searching everybody, I was tired. And I needed to lean up on something. So I leaned against the pool table. And I put the guns down to my waist. And I went to a nod. And the next thing I know, I heard somebody say,
That's a good way to get hurt.
my hand jerked up. And I heard a blast. I looked at my hand because I didn't know I didn't pull this trigger. I looked around and saw my 2 co-defendants run out the bar. I wanted to see if anybody got hit. So I stepped to the side. I looked down and I saw my cousin, William Boyd. I killed him.